Thanks for joining us. Of course, we really appreciate it. This marks the first of our law student. We did this back in February. This is the second time we're doing it. We're probably going to be doing these law student discussion groups maybe once a semester. It seemed like it was pretty valuable discussions to be had last time we did it. So we're going to keep doing it moving forward. So we have a couple of lawyers here today that are familiar with the criminal law side of things, and we are going to focus on that and have them speak to you all about it. So first we have Mary Newton of Newton Law. Mary got her law degree from Emory Law School and was licensed in 2019. We also have Aaron A.Z. Zadeh from the Oberman and Rice law firm. We'll go with AZ for the rest of the session. But AZ got his law degree from Appalachian School of Law and was licensed in 2017. So as I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to use the chat box. Any and everything you can possibly think of. We encourage you to pick these guys' brains because they have valuable insight. So let's try to get into some of that now. So I guess the first thing I want to just kind of want to prompt you guys with is try to kind of put yourself in the shoes of these law students, whether it's 1 year for 1L or 3Ls, whatever it may be, but kind of go through where you're at, obviously now get to that point, but kind of the where you're at in law school, the decisions that you made when you got out of law school, and kind of just kind of summarize the experience you have into what led you to where you're at this point. So Mary, we'll start with you. Just go ahead and kind of discuss the kind of what's led you to where you're at now, starting in law school.
So starting in law school, what led me to where I am now?
Yeah, sorry, that was probably a poorly worded question, but
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure. So I knew going into law school that I wanted to practice criminal defense. Specifically, I wanted to help indigent defendants. So I had that goal in mind the entire time, honestly. So I obviously focused on taking classes that I felt added to that end goal and would give me more perspective in this type of situation. But those were all within, they were still in, well, I didn't take any business classes or anything like that. And now I'm solo. So I didn't have that sort of perspective going into it. But that, like taking the certain law school classes, and additionally, where I went, I also took some theology classes, which just for personal reasons, just being interested in the human rights courses they offered and the ethics classes that they offered, which I feel like helped prepare me for what I'm doing now also.
Cool. And then so you got out of law school, through the process of, you found the job search and all that stuff, and then what led you to where you're at now, kind of all those steps? Uh-oh. Mary there?
Mary.
Yes, I am there.
I thought you froze, sorry.
No, I missed who you were addressing the question to.
Oh, sorry. I was just kind of.
I thought you said AZ.
No, sorry.
No,
yeah, so you were obviously, you talked about kind of what you were going through in law school. Kind of give us the process of post graduating, taking the bar, and kind of the steps that led you to where you're at now.
Sure. So I, through a couple of different externships with the CLO, knew Mark Stevens, and Mark was starting the Holistic Legal Incubator with the Justice Initiative, and knew that I might be interested in that. And so I decided to start my own practice as a participant in the incubator. So I don't work for the incubator, I don't work for the Justice Initiative, I work for myself, but I'm running my own practice with the resources and help that the incubator has available to me.
Awesome. We'll definitely, I'll get you to speak about that a little bit more as we go on. But okay, AZ, what about you? Kind of the same question, the process in law school and where the whole trip to where you got to where you're at now.
You see, luckily Mary went first, so I had time to think about what I wanted to say.
Sorry, Mary.
First of all, I think I graduated law school in 2007. I thought you said 17 earlier, and I'm a little older than that, but I appreciate your,
I need to enunciate better. I have 2007 on here, but gotcha.
So unlike Mary, when I went to law school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to practice law in some way, shape, or form. So I had different courses. I tried all different kinds of law. I had business law, I had conflicts law, I had torts. I did everything you could possibly think of with criminal law. And then, 3 years passed by, guys, and all of a sudden it's bar exam time. You have a law degree. What are you going to do with it? Mm-hmm. So, and not everybody goes on to practice law. You can do a lot with a law degree besides doing criminal law or anything. You can do a whole lot of stuff. We can talk about that later on, I guess. But so after law school, I had the fortune of externing with a local judge during my 1L year here in Knox County. And that kind of opened my eyes to criminal law a little bit. And being undecided, I called him and he said, come on down to court. So first day after I passed the bar, I'm taking cases in sessions court. So I think something I would say that's super important for kids in law school now, young adults, forgive me, is get as much hands-on experience as you can. I think interning, externing, even 2-3 Ls, I think it's great if you just volunteer your services. I'm sure Mark would appreciate any help you can get over there. Mary would. I know people at our law firm would. Experience speaks volumes when you're actually out there practicing law. It's great to have all kinds of book knowledge, but once you get your feet wet and get running in court, as Mary can tell you and Mark can tell you, it's fast paced and you're dealing with people in their worst moments in criminal law. So once I started taking cases, I fell in love with it. And it's very rewarding to be able to help people who are at their worst moments and try to walk them through that and reach their goals. I think that's important. So through legwork, and then I worked with Mark for 5 years at the COO, and that's where I met Mary. I think she helped me watch some DUI videos maybe way back in the day. But, Steve Oberman brought me on in his firm and became partner a few years later. So it just takes, I think, going for it, just working and not being afraid to actually get your feet wet, and experience, practical knowledge will get you so far in practicing law.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned how you actually started getting cases, AZ, because that's the same thing I did, and I didn't actually say that. So after passing the bar, very hurriedly got sworn in before the swearing in ceremony that was like months away or whatever, and immediately went to Sessions Court here in Knox County and just played the waiting game to see what conflicts could come my way. And that's how I got started. And that's still the bulk of my practice, except now I don't have to sit in court and wait. But
I told you, Mary, I had a few moments to think of that before you got to start talking. So I had to organize. And if I may, Jonathan, real quick, just kind of piggybacking off Mary, if anybody who watches this later, or Leah, if she's interested in criminal law, what you might want to do, even as in 1, 2, or 3L, prepare a resume, take it to Donna Corbett. She's the judge's secretary in Knoxville. She knows a lot of stuff and a lot of people, and she can kind of help you if you want to find an externship of a judge. I know now with the pandemic, it's a little bit weird at the courthouse, but I know the judges in Knoxville, they love young folks coming in and they try to help them, even if it's just watching how real court functions, if you want to call Sessions Court real court. But we'll get to that a different day, I guess. So.
Yeah, sure thing. AZ, we'll stick with you. I've got kind of a more general question about criminal justice. Just why is criminal justice important to you, and how did that play into you choosing it as an area of law to focus on at this point?
It's a great question. To be honest, when I first started, it was take some cases, see if you like criminal law. And I remember my first felony case in Sessions Court. This guy was charged with a D felony theft, and he was in the jail docket. I went and talked to him, And just seeing how somebody is so frightened they can't make a bond, he's saying a completely different version of what happened as compared to the arrest warrant. Seeing how worried he was when I called his family for him on my cell phone and talked to him that day in court. They're worried, we can't make a bond, we can't make a bond. You see how these people really want help. They're people, and they're, you know, half the time, everything that's said in the allegation might not be true. So they're in a tough spot, right? So it's important, in my opinion, when I saw that and how it kind of sent me down the road of criminal justice, is you can make a difference. You can help people. And that sounds cliche to say, without a 100% doubt. And if I could have passed chemistry, maybe I would have been a pediatrician and helped kids do medicine. But helping people, I think at the end of the day, is one of the key reasons you'd want to get involved in criminal justice. It's not a really huge moneymaker. I mean, you know, only some firms make decent money on this. You know, a lot of people just work hard and they do it because they believe in the cause.
Sure. Mary, what about you?
So I think I definitely agree with, you know, AZ talking about how getting that other side of the story, you know, not just what's somebody's accused of doing in a warrant or in an indictment, but, you know, I just think more than that, it's something, getting arrested or indicted it's one of the worst things that can happen to a person, you know, and being somebody's lifeline, sometimes to the outside world, if they're incarcerated and they can't afford their bond. Other times it's just knowing that you are having to fight so this person, you know, maintains their freedom outside of custody. I think it's just one of the most important things somebody could do. And there are certainly a lot of really important areas in the law and functions within the law. But I find this specific field to be incredibly rewarding every day.
Great.
And Jonathan, if I can piggyback again off Mary real quick.
Absolutely.
Something she mentioned really kind of resonated with me. You know, it's not just get the potential client out of jail during a bad time. At our firm at Oberman and Ross, we do a lot of DUI representation with clients who have alcohol issues or drug issues or something of that sort. And we really strive to make them better to beat those demons of alcohol or drug abuse. And I know that Mary, we're working with Mark in a very holistic approach, is to fix the person, or try to make their life better, to educate, to show them you don't have to do X, Y, Z, to educate the family, is another way to keep them from reoffending or putting themselves in a position where they have to offend to live or pay their bills, whatever like that. So that's another very key part of criminal law that can get lost in the shuffle when you see on TV is, you know, oh, X and X shot somebody. That's not always the true story. The real story is happened a year prior, right? And it leads them down that road, which criminal law is really can help people.
Great. So I'm curious, I know, Mary, you said you seem to have had a good idea of what you wanted to do when you were in law school, and in AZ you were getting through it, and then your experience kind of led you to if that seems accurate. So I'm curious what both of your answers would be to this. So Mary, what would you say to a person who is anxious about the fact that they have no idea? They're in the middle of law school right now. They have no idea what area they want to pursue. From your perspective, what would you say to a student like that who is still trying to figure things out and figure out what areas to go into?
So I would say that having been admitted to law school and being able to start law school and take classes at law school and continue on with law school, that is a privilege a lot of people who would like to have don't get to have. Just doing the work and being present and looking for opportunities can lead you to really exciting and important places and it is okay to not have all the answers of what your life is going to look like in 10 or 5 or even 1 year. There's a lot of people, I know I'm saying I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do, and I did. But even just knowing I wanted to, help defend poor people, there was still a lot of ambiguity about what that would look like and where that would be. And I felt sometimes like an outsider because there would be people that also knew what they were going to do, but they had everything lined up, 2L year. They knew exactly where they were going to work and what they were going to do and which state they were going to take the bar in. So I would just remind somebody that their story isn't your story. You got this far for a reason. Be on the lookout for opportunities, because at the end of the day, you're going to have a law degree, which is a very, very important thing.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. What about you, AZ?
Well, tough to follow that one, but let me tell you. So I think the important thing here for anybody in law school, like Mary said, you've gone to this point. You beat out a bunch of people trying to get that spot. You got the spot. Don't panic. Don't stress. You have plenty of time down your life to stress about it, okay? Plenty of time to stress about bar prep. Plenty of time to stress about getting a job. Plenty of time to stress about student loans. Let's just be honest. I mean, everything's going to hit you. Don't panic. If you don't know what you want to do yet, listen, you're already there. Get your JD. You can do a lot of stuff with the JD. You can go on and get more schooling. You can get your master's of law and, teach, be a law school professor. It really helps you to have that master's of law degree if you're a career student or wanted to proceed that way. You can use your JD and you can be a lawyer, but do research. You don't have to think I've got to be in the courtroom all the time, or I have to be in a corporate boardroom. You have to find what makes you happy. You have to find your niche. And that's not an overnight thing. It takes time. You may think you want to be a criminal defense lawyer. Your first day in court, say, nope, not for me. And that's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. Just don't put too much stress on yourself, because once you get that JD, you're one of us, right? You're a lawyer. It doesn't matter if you graduate with a 2.0 or a 4.0. You're a lawyer. So be happy about it, but be ready to work hard. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, AZ, we'll stay with you. What kind of speaking to that, and just more of maybe the practical steps that students can be taking in law school, what kind of either questions, experiences, whether it be internships, externships, what kinds of things would you recommend a student be asking their professors, or experiences or internships, stuff like that, to be looking out for while they're in law school to help better prepare them for maybe criminal law in the future?
Great question. So first thing, as I mentioned kind of earlier, you can talk to Donna Corbett. She is the judge's secretary in Knox County. I'm sure she won't mind me telling you that. Talk to Mike Hammond's office, the Clerks County or Knox County Clerk's office. Ask, can I shadow? Can I do anything for free just to observe? If you're in law school, I know Steve Oberman's a professor over there. Not saying necessarily ask him to shadow him around court, but you can find a professor over there who's always practicing law. Ask him, hey, do you have any cases this week? Or can I come watch you in court one day? The best way to go about this is just, and I hate to say it, but you have to have a little bit of just, okay, I'm going to take a chance and go just approach these people, be nice about it. And Mary will tell you, lawyers aren't going to be like, get away from me, law skid. Every lawyer can put themselves back in their shoes, whether it be 10, 15, 40 years ago. And in Knox County, we have a great bar. People are always willing to help, always willing to spread their information. So definitely extern, intern, shadow, anything, even just go to the courthouse yourself and it's kind of go in a courtroom. Of course, right now it's tough because of the pandemic. Just keep in mind, you have to wear a mask and they're trying to keep dockets low. But practical, just seeing it. You can be in court one day and just say, not for me. And that saves you all times and stresses. But it takes initiative. It takes not being afraid to be told no. It's okay. But you have to want to try and put yourself out there.
Absolutely. What about you, Mary?
Yeah, everything AZ said, really. externing is so important. Shadowing is a great opportunity. And there are so many incredibly helpful attorneys in Knox County. We do have a very friendly bar here. Even, you know, being part of the local bar association is, I think, going to open even more opportunities up for law students who are looking for opportunities. I know that I'm grateful for the KBA like every day in my practice. Do law students have access to see who the mentors for the moment are?
Yeah, they have the same member benefits and.
Okay. So that would be mentor for a moment are attorneys who have agreed to be available to practicing attorneys who need help with a specific field. But I would think that would be a good place to start for law students wanting to reach out to attorneys that have kind of already put themselves out there for contact. And I would just say that this is a little bit different version of your question, Jonathan.
Sure.
I wish that I had done some different types of extracurriculars than I did. And I mean, there's some people, if you're 3L, you know, what you've done is what you've done, and it's probably awesome and going to work out great. And that is the case for me. However, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, why didn't I try to do mock trial whenever so much of my work now requires knowing those sorts of skills? I went to a school, I don't know if all schools are like this, forgive me if they are, but you had to choose between journal and mock trial and moot court. And so I was really, really fixated on getting on a specific journal to combine my 2 degrees. And I did, and I don't regret it. But again, I'm like, why didn't I do mock trial? That has way more relevance to what I'm doing every day. So yeah, that's something to think about. Different ways you can get the experience of, you know, being in trial while you're still in law school.
And if I could just say, she's absolutely correct and accurate, but a great plug for KBA right there. It was perfect.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to kind of expand on that from the KBA perspective, because we we put a lot of thought and effort into doing everything we can to get students. I know students are busy, they're studying every night. It's tough to, you know, make time for social events, but you know, we do different things too, like the mock trial, like Mary mentioned, and you know, we put a lot of thought into trying to get students out of their comfort zone and meeting people and fostering these relationships. And I've been here for 4.5 years now, and so I've had enough experience to see firsthand. I've seen a whole batch of law students come through. I remember meeting some of them at their very first event, and them having no idea what's going on, who to talk to, but they were there. They met some people, and I can think of off the top of my head many of them who are working for law firms in Knoxville now. Just, you know, having met people and fostered those relationships in law school. So I appreciate the plug, and I'll kind of shamelessly plug a little more there, but the fact that if anybody's
keep plugging.
Yeah, so either here now or watching this later on, and even just simply gathering this knowledge is you're doing things correctly. So we're not trying to freak you out or anything like that, but okay, so moving on. Mary, you kind of started talking about this, but this was kind of a question I had down the line. So I don't know if you need to expand on this, but you might have some other examples of things. So what steps could students take now that can better prepare them for criminal law down the line? And that may have to do with things that you regret not doing while you were in school, or just things that come to your head that you would have that would have been very helpful while you were in law school.
Yeah, I think my answer is what we've already discussed, which is, you know, mock trial would have given me a little bit more preparation for the courtroom, more than journal did. Shadowing and externing is just a great way to get hands-on experience and really see what that day-to-day life would be. I would be open to whatever externship opportunities come your way, even if they're unpaid. Well, I guess if it's an externship, there might be the class credit component. So even summers or whatever, if you're not getting credit, do the externship if you can swing it financially, get the experience.
Great. What about you, AZ?
Definitely shadowing, externing, interning. As Mary also mentioned, I would say that it's when you're in law school, if you think I want to do criminal law or do this or that, and you think you have a weakness, if you're kind of afraid to speak, public speaking is an issue, or writing is your major weakness, take a course that's going to challenge you. Don't just take what you think is going to be an easy way to get by. Challenge yourself, because as Mary can tell you, once you're out of law school, every day is a challenge. It's a different challenge. It could be a good, fun challenge, or it could be a horrible challenge. I can tell you that Steve teaches a class at UT, and he really enjoys it, and he really pushes for the kids to any sort of weakness. He wants to make them better. He wants to make you better lawyers. And I think all law is in East Tennessee, here in I guess LMU in Knoxville, UTK, the professors are great, and they really want to try to make you better. So don't be afraid to, fix your weaknesses, and just keep getting hands-on knowledge. I keep beating that dead horse, but that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a change of pace here, kind of speaking to the practicality of working during law school. So AZ, we'll just stick with you you can go first here. So did you juggle classes while working as an intern before finishing law school? And if so, can you describe that?
Yeah, well, my law school is a little unique. So they had a mandatory community service requirement as well. So during each year, I had to get 50 hours community service, and my law school was in Virginia, but kind of in a poorer area. So we had a lot of people who needed help. So that took up a lot of my time. But luckily for me, my internships were during the summer. So not everybody can do that. Not everybody can work with a judge over the summertime. I mean, it's just very gratuitous for me. Our law school was very keen on not working while you're in school. I'm not sure if that law's changed, or that rule has changed. I've been a lawyer now 14 years. But in our law school, working hours were very strict to almost nothing. So intern whenever you can. That's all I can say. Summers are great, but if your law school allows for you to work or intern while you're in school, maybe get paid for it, go for it. I mean, just whatever you can do, because law school is a stepping stone for real world work. You're working. I mean, 8 to 5, 8 to 7, 8 to 9, or for me, like 6:30 to 5. It just keeps going. Yeah.
What about you, Mary?
Yeah. So I did do internships / externships, however you want to phrase it, while still in school with classes. So I just had a kind of different perspective regarding my classes. Undergrad Mary would be very confused with law school Mary, because I started law school as a mom, and I just kind of had different priorities regarding what my experiences would be and what my mental state about grades would be. So I don't want to suggest, screw your GPA, just get the experience. But, experience is very, very important. And AZ mentioned earlier, what are they going to call you if you graduate with a 2.0 versus, and you're a lawyer? They'll call you a lawyer. So I don't know. I don't want anybody to take my advice as me saying like, don't study for your finals or anything. I just think be very intentional about what you decide to, and be intentional about the way you extend yourself, and then what experience you want to have gotten at the end of your time.
No, and if I can, Jonathan, that's just super impressive that Mary went to law school while being a mom, and that's just, I couldn't imagine that, just stress and ability to persevere and to graduate, and now she's a successful practicing lawyer. But I'll go ahead and say it, unless you're a top 10, top 5 kid in your law class, GPA wise, I mean, odds are you're not going to have a job lined up. If you do, great, that's wonderful. But there's a lot of kids applying for those jobs. So these people who are interviewing for those coveted spots, those people who are a little lower down the GPA list, it's going to be personality, experience. How is this person going to make me money? And I hate to say it like that, but that's how a lot of this stuff kind of breaks down. And having a realist view of how this is, like Mary said, you have to be ready to just blow people away with your experience. You can have all the book knowledge you need, but I'd much rather have somebody come to my law firm. Oh yeah, they're smart, great. But do you know how to address a judge properly? Are you afraid to be in the courtroom? Can you talk to a client and not talk down to them like they're a book? They're a person. So a lot of that stuff is super crucial, in my opinion.
Great. So speaking towards, I guess, kind of the job search after law school, what are the best ways to find job opportunities in criminal law, and what qualities do employers look for? AZ, we'll stick with you.
Well, for me, I can speak on this on my knowledge. I was working, taking my cases, and then ran into Mark, and he saw me working, and he offered me a job, and then proceeded to just, people will see you working. People will see you being successful, respecting your clients, treating like a person. All of that is so important in criminal law. So for me, it would be networking, especially in this type of community. Knoxville, I call a little big city, right? It's a big city, but everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other's business. So network. KBA is a fantastic source. There are other sources around. Talk to lawyers. Michael Williams is a great example. Michael Williams is amazing. He's a great lawyer. He knows everybody, and he's willing to help out any young folks he can, because he cares about the profession. And I think that in order to find a job, there's great resources. KBA has a great resource. You can search for jobs on there. But it's getting out there, it's doing the footwork, it's impressing individuals in criminal law with what you do in the courtroom, because pretty much that's what your job is. Besides the business aspect of running a law firm, as Mary knows about, it's what you do in the courtroom, your reputation with the bar, with the judges, all that stuff comes into play. And not being afraid to talk to somebody, to a lawyer you don't know, and just strike a conversation up, exchange business cards. That's something I would say. Have business cards. I'm a little old school. Have business cards. None of this cell phone, sharing information. Somebody a business card. You hand somebody a business card. They'll keep it in their pocket. They'll keep it. They remind you never know.
Great. What about you, Mary?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, just the kind of the best ways to find job opportunities in criminal law, and then what qualities do employers look for?
So yes, doing the work, being present in the courtroom, that's huge. You have to know how to talk to clients in a respectful way, and know they're valuable, because they are valuable. Really think, what kind of lawyer would you want if you were in this situation? You would want somebody you'd probably want somebody who dresses appropriately for court and is respectful and doesn't talk down to you and explains to you, is available to you. I completely agree that you should have business cards, even if some clients or other attorneys won't keep it, some will. So that's definitely a very good thing to have with you.
Mary, we'll stick with you. So question here. So students are always encouraged to seek out mentoring relationships. What kinds of things were you looking for in your current mentors, and what steps did you take while in law school to foster and build those relationships?
So I probably could have done a better job of fostering relationships with mentors while in law school. With the exception of whenever I was in an internship or an externship, you have people on the spot with you who you're going to know. This person seems to not mind whenever I bug them with mentor-like questions, and then stay in contact with that person after you leave. There's still people from internships and externships that I will send Christmas cards to and occasionally email to say, hey, this is what I'm doing currently. What are you up to? It's not an everyday sort of conversation, but definitely keeping those people in your network. But yeah, so other than relationships I made at internships, I didn't do a great job of building mentorship relationships while I was in law school. But also, does the KBA have a mentorship program for people in law school?
Nothing specific. We do the diversity event that we're having at the end of this week, actually. On Friday, we have the buddy match program. That's kind of the most hands-on the KBA gets as far as giving someone an actual mentor, setting up meetings and stuff like that. But the mentor for the moment is, I have a question about something and let me search this area of law and get a number from somebody. But if you call around enough lawyers, and I think that could lead to probably some long-term mentorships as well. But specifically, we don't have anything set up to foster that besides the diversity event.
Okay.
Sure thing. What about you, AZ? Need me to repeat the question?
No, okay, I got it.
Okay.
So Mary's already kind of hinted at this and commented about it, but if you have a mentor or somebody you're working with, keep in touch with them. That's clear, because at the end of the day, they're people. Your mentor's a person. I know sometimes it may seem awkward to think that, judge X, Y, Z is a person, but they're a person. Following up with them, Christmas cards, anything non-denominational, it's sort of a thank you note, how you thinking of you, how you doing? Can I help you with anything? Always follow up with somebody you're externing, interning with, working with, months down the road. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. Do you need any help? I know you were overloaded last time I worked with you. I'm busy with school, but I really enjoy my time with you. Can I help you with anything? Always being there, being available is so important. If you're externing with somebody, a great way to foster that relationship, or if you're working with somebody on a paid internship, if your hours are 2 to 5, for example, when 5 o'clock hits, don't pack up and leave. Be willing to say, hey, boss, I'm done. I'm willing to stay later. I don't need to be paid. I just want to help out. Anytime you can show somebody you're helping, don't feel like you're being taken advantage of, because you're going to be learning from this stuff down the road. Showing somebody work ethic, showing you're trustworthy, reliable, punctual is so important. And not being afraid, like I said, most importantly, as Mary can tell you, so much work you got to be done. You can't do it all by yourself. If you're willing to help, just send a note, send an email, pop in the office, offer to buy them coffee. I hate to make this all sound like networking, but guys, that's kind of real life. I don't know how else to put it.
Absolutely. So a little bit of a change of pace here. So being in a field that seems so, Mary, we'll go with you, start this one out. So being in a field that seems so serious and chaotic, do you feel that you have a pretty good work-life balance? And what tips would you have for students who are worried about that aspect of practicing law?
So currently, as I'm talking to you right now, I do feel like I have a good work-life balance. I sort of have some built-in factors that require me to leave my office, such as I now have 2 kids. So I do have to, get time out of the office.
Mhm.
But more importantly, I'm aware of the research out there talking about how important it is to make time outside of your office for things that are not related to law. Sometimes I struggle with like the emotional baggage, like you leave work, but your mind hasn't left work. And one way I deal with that is I watch almost exclusively funny things. I like to keep things light. I have watched The Office a million times. I don't regret any of it. And I read, which is for fun, which is something that I started the week after taking the bar. It was like at that point I gave myself permission to start reading for fun again, and I've been doing it ever since. So there are probably people who have more boundaries than I have, but I work for myself. So, if it's got to get done, I'm the one that has to do it. But I feel like I have a healthy routine of the way that I'm working and when I'm working and how I'm working.
What about you, AZ?
Well, a little bit different. Mary has, it's tough being your own boss, your own solo practitioner in different ways, right? I mean, she has more responsibilities being a solo practitioner, and having kids and that kind of stuff. I do not have a dog, but that being said, I'm at the office by 6:30. I'll leave 5:30, maybe 6, depending on what's going on. But that's because we are a small law firm and we have a lot of responsibilities. But in order to fix that, because not everybody can do that, okay? And I've been able to adapt to getting up early, getting good sleep, running at lunch, finding something to find your zen, so to speak. Watching fun shows. It's great. Finding a few hours to binge something. You have to find time for yourself because, as Mary can tell you, the law firm never shuts down. If somebody calls for you 2 a.m, they're extremely intoxicated, they need help, guess what? You gotta be able to talk to them. Yeah. But you have to find time in order to focus on your mental health and your physical health. And that can be through exercise, a sport you love, reading, keeping your brain functioning, anything. You have to find what's good for you. So even though hours are tough, you can find a way to balance it out. I would definitely not recommend burning yourself out because I've seen it so many times. Law school, you can burn yourself out. You have to set boundaries. And if you have a friend who's having problems, because people turn to different types of things, substance abuses or other issues can arise. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but lawyers have a high alcoholism rate. It's a very stressful job, and that starts in law school. Let's be honest. So it's important to have boundaries for yourself. Find a way to fix your schedule. Maybe you're a morning person or you're a night person. Just get your work done when you can, and watch out for each other, because a lot of people will miss their own personal issues, but good friends, partners, law partners, have an actual responsibility to help somebody if they are having issues like that, which can happen.
Oh yeah. A couple more questions, and we'll get you guys out of here. So you both kind of just spoke to this a little bit, but I kind of wanted to point maybe to a more specific question. So Mary, we'll start with you. So criminal law can obviously be one of the darker areas of law, depending on the case. So how do you deal with maybe the potential secondhand trauma of litigating cases with those darker circumstances?
So I'm not sure that I've been in that specific situation where I felt like I've had secondhand trauma.
That might be a bit of a strong phrase, but I think you
Well,
the question.
I think I know what you mean.
Mhm.
But I would just say in general, there are some times where, for whatever reason, it is hard to get my mind off of a client or a matter or something, because our clients are very much real people who have real needs, and you're a real person with real needs. So sometimes you will encounter things that that do cause you to feel a certain way. I would say that still my practice of just trying to focus on funny things / give time for myself in reading or spending time with my family to get my mind off of work is very helpful.
Great. AZ, what about you?
Well, I'm a little bit more age under my belt than Mary. I've unfortunately in my career have forced clients to commit suicide. So I have had situations where, and guys, that's real life. You have every client coming to you horrible times. Mental health in Tennessee is horrible. There is no help for these folks, and it's really a shame. So how to answer this question? One, you have to have a strong support structure. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be coworkers, it can be your law partner, it can be a pet. It can be a structured regime where you say, okay, even though I'm a lawyer, from 7 to 9, it's me time. That $10,000 case can wait. I've got to deal with myself, because if you're unhealthy, your clients are only going to suffer. So, like I said, Jonathan, it's not fair to try to give a umbrella answer to that, because each person's so unique. But you're going to encounter things. Family law is horrible. This is criminal law matter, I know, and all my family law lawyers sorry, but family law is, whew, he'll age you years, because that's real stress. So I guess make sure you have a support structure. Bad things are going to happen to you. You're going to have clients who get taken into jail. Their mom's going to be crying in the audience. Their life's going to change like that. The judge is going to say, "Yep, you're going to jail." And it's important to remember you have to pick yourself back off the map, because they still need you. My clients who unfortunately passed away, I had to pick myself up and help the family. You turn into a counselor, not just an advocate, you're also a counselor, and you need to be able to wear different hats and cope, to have a release and know your boundaries. I keep saying that. I feel like I'm a politician. I just keep repeating key points here to the screen, but it's really true.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple more general questions, and then we'll get out of here. So I can't remember if either one of you can speak to this, but you might just have some general knowledge. So from what you do know, how does practicing law in Knoxville compare to practicing laws in other larger cities, maybe such as Atlanta or Nashville? AZ, we can start with you.
I can tell you that I have had cases in Nashville, not many, and I have a bunch of friends in Nashville. I can tell you that the bar is different. I can just tell you on its face, different rules apply in different jurisdictions. So it's really important to know, and this is a good point, Jonathan, if you're going to do criminal law, make sure, let's say you live in Anderson County or, Davidson or Shelby, make sure you go to your home county to extern intern if you can, because each jurisdiction is so different. Knox County is great. To Sharm's credit in the DA's office, they try to give you what they can in sessions court when they can. You go to other counties, it's a lot harder to get information in the sessions court level. So knowing your jurisdiction, knowing how they operate is, I think, mandatory knowledge to do your client justice. Otherwise, you're walking in blind, and that's not good in anything except if you're at a haunted house. And even then, I'm not sure it's that good.
I think I remember from the previous criminal law, one of the attorneys had a suggestion to literally whatever county you're going to call the court and ask what their local rules are as a rule of thumb. So I mean, I'm not an attorney, that can't be considered solicited advice, but
no. And I think, Jonathan, there's a book on local rules. I think you can buy a book and has all the local rules and their attire, hours, that kind of stuff. Some judges lock the door at 9 o'clock. You can't get in the courtroom. So.
Right. I also think that you can see the local rules on the administrative office of the court's website. You can look it up for each jurisdiction.
I think you're right, Mary. I think you're right.
That sounds right. Yeah. And, sorry, go ahead.
Local rules, that's really important. But I think it's great advice to go and see what court is like in a jurisdiction where you want to work before you commit to working there, if you have the opportunity and the privilege to be choosy.
Yeah, right.
I totally agree with that. I can just piggyback real quick. For example, if you are going to a courtroom that you haven't been in before, go the day before, make sure they have stuff for your presentation if you're going to be during jury selection or giving a presentation at a hearing, because some courtrooms don't have technology for you to use it properly. So going there, looking at the courtroom, talk to the clerks, the bailiffs. They'll tell you so much information about the room. Just be nice. Just be who you are. Just be polite, be respectful, and you'd be surprised how much information you can get out of people. In a good way. Not trying to be sneaky, in a good way. Not trying to trick anybody.
Mary, anything to add?
Clerks and bailiffs are some of the most important people that
I heard that too.
You're going to be around every day. Be good to them.
Maybe bring them some coffee and donuts or something.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So final question here. This is kind of I don't even know if you guys may not even have anything for this, but I like to ask this because
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I have something.
I like to ask this question for all of these sessions because sometimes we get some interesting answers. So just very simply, AZ, we'll start with you. So what do you see as the next big development in criminal law? I
think the next big development is video court. I know they have that arraignments in jail now are all video. Knox County, if anybody is practicing, if you're in jail, you got to be in DUI court on the video. And it's just, I think, unfortunately, judges like it because the sheriff's office likes it because they're not wheeling inmates in. They're just having on video at the jails. The security purposes, of course, lawyers, Mary would tell you, would disagree that they can't talk to the client face to face, and it makes it difficult over video. But I think that's going to be the next unfortunate common occurrence. Viruses going around, pandemic may never end, who knows? I think video court, and it's going to be litigated a lot, I think, by defense lawyers because it really interrupts and interferes with confidential communications, with confrontation clause issues. I mean, trying to have a jury trial over video is ridiculous. I mean, how is a jury going to be able to see and understand and take in what the witness is saying? That's the whole point of having a jury, is to take in the evidence that's on the stand. It is hard over video. So that's my guesstimate, guys.
Should be wild, yeah. What about you, Mary? Anything?
I think AZ's totally right about that. And I think as a defense attorney, it is very problematic. I think it has tons of constitutional implications if we're supposed to be litigating things over Zoom for our clients or teams or whatever video format. I don't know that this is answering your question really, Jonathan, but an attorney I know who's on the younger side, he has a presence on TikTok as an attorney, which
I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll remain anonymous.
well, but there are a lot of attorneys who are working on a social media presence.
Mhm.
It's not just specific to criminal defense attorneys, but you know, I'm aware of how that could, you know, be a way to put yourself out there and get clients. It's not a way that I'm willing to pursue because I am a dinosaur, believe it or not.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so
Give me a break. Objection.
when it comes to social media, I wouldn't know where to begin to create an attorney TikTok. But you know, we've seen it already with attorneys' websites running blogs. Another thing I don't do. So I think that social media has already been a way for professional development and will continue to be a way for professional development outside of, you know, LinkedIn, which is what you would associate, I would think, but not so much TikTok.
So advertising is evolving, essentially. No more.
Yeah.
It's not just billboards and local TV ads. It's a lot cheaper now to promote yourself. But yeah, that makes sense. But okay, well, we are out of time, and really appreciate you both joining us. Like I said, we're going to be putting this on YouTube, and hopefully some people can get some valuable insight watching this back. But Mary, AZ, thank you both so much for joining us. I hope to see both of you very soon as we navigate the pandemic. But it was good to see you now, and we really appreciate it again.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank
Thank
you,
you for having us.
Mary.
Thanks so much. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.